So you're becoming a better artist every day and you're willing to put in that time and that effort. But maybe you want some friends. Maybe you want someone special in your life. Maybe you even want a family one day. But how do you juggle a social life with all the time it takes to be an artist? Welcome to the Art Mentor. My name is Sean, and I totally understand your struggle as a husband, father, friend, and colleague. How would you like some advice on how to balance your social life with your art life so that you can be a better artist and be a better human? So here's what I've learned, and I think it'll help. To start this off, I want to let you know how being an alien made me a better artist. And what I mean by that is that I used to actually avoid people, because when you're putting yourself into the place of you don't like to be around people, when you are around people, you kind of feel like you're an invader. You feel like you're an alien. And that's kind of what I learned is not going to help me as an artist. With you being an artist, you want to go ahead and you want to make a difference in the lives of people, and you want to go ahead and do things with that art. And hey, maybe you even want to turn that into a career. Maybe you want that to be your life. Maybe you have great dreams and desires of making your own IP, or you working for an amazing company, right? But here's the problem with all that, is that when you put yourself into a place of being an artistic hermit, you are not in the same position as somebody who can actually make an impact. So one thing that I discovered when I was in my late teens, and yes, I had gone through some unfortunate circumstances and I did not really like people a lot. I learned that if I wanted to make an impact with people, I had to learn to be amongst people. I had to learn to speak to people. I had to learn how to actually hold a conversation with them. And that sort of propelled me into a lifelong endeavor of trying to be more sociable. And you don't have to be like this crazy extrovert. And even if you're looking at me right now and you're like, Sean, but you have so much energy. Like, look, I am an extroverted introvert. Like most of the time, I am not talking to people, and I'm a careful observer of it. And I choose who I want to be like this with, just like I'm choosing to be like this with you, friend. So I just want to challenge you here to just consider this. The people that are going to enter your life are either going to help you or hurt you, but it's inevitable that some people are not going to be there for the best intents, are not going to be there for long stints, are not going to be there in a constructive way. But nonetheless, you need to kind of go through that human experience of having people in your life so that you can therefore be a better artist and so that you can grow. Because I guarantee this, your art life is not gonna grow, and neither are your prospects with it, if you're not growing your human need for social interactions, friend. So get out of the cave, quit being a hermit, and here's how you can definitely learn how to structure all of your time with humans so that you can balance your art and your life. Now I wanna ask you a big loaded question, which is, what's the quality like with the people that are currently in your life? Because if you're trying to be an artist, you're inevitably going to need to spend a lot of time to develop your skills and crafts and to kind of grow what you want to be, right? But at the same time, when you're with the people that you're saying that you need to spend more time with, I just want to reject that for a minute. Do you really need more time, or do you need more meaningful time? Because the quality of your interactions is far more important than the amount of quantity. It's the same thing with your art too. Look at it like this. Is it worthwhile for you to spend 5 hours a day just kind of loosely screwing around, not really getting anything done and just practicing aimlessly? Or is it better for you to just sit down for 30 minutes and get done even more than you could have done in those 5 hours? I think the answer is pretty obvious, but let's look at that from a social perspective too. What are you doing? Are you with your friends, but you're on your phone the whole time? Are you sitting down with somebody? You go over to somebody's house for an entire day, and what do? You sit down and you watch Netflix all day? This is a problem. We tend to mistake a mediated experience for a human experience. So for you that have friends, for you that want to get friends, for you that want to be with somebody romantically, for you that have kids, what are you doing when you're around them? For me as a parent, this is something that I've definitely struggled with in the past, with like being on my phone while my kids are around. Like, especially parents, tell me down below, like when your kids kind of start to get on your nerves a little bit and you just want to shut down and look at your phone. But listen, one thing that I've started to learn a lot is that you need to just be fully present, and you need to focus on what is the quality like and what is the experience going to be like with you without the presence of any media. So here's what I want to challenge you with. Instead of you being worried about the amount of hours that you're putting in to your social relationships, put it into this: how meaningful are they? What are you doing? Like, instead of you sitting down and watching things, playing things, both of you, maybe you go out to dinner, but what do? You just sit there and you stare at your phones the whole time. How about this? Talk. How about this? Go for a walk, go hiking, go do things. I guarantee you this, y'all. You're not gonna feel bad and you're not gonna feel like you're lacking, and you won't feel like you're gonna have to choose one or the other, social or art desires, when you know that you have really great moments because you have this ability to build actual memories of actually doing things with your friends. Just because you cohabitate with somebody does not make it a good human interaction. Have you considered this before? Or what have you been doing to make sure that you have better quality interactions? Let us know. Now, for you as an artist that wants to be incredibly successful, wants to create great artwork, and you're highly ambitious, right? Can I just let you know how also being sociable can help you build a lot of resentment towards the people in your life? That's right, and most people don't talk about this, which is why I want to really let you know about this. When you are a really ambitious artist, but you also have a lot of great desires for social interactions, because that's natural, it's human, right? Inevitably, here's a conundrum that you're gonna face, friend. What does art mean to you? How does that fit into your life? And what I mean specifically is, why are you doing it? What does it bring to the table? And how can one influence the other? But here's a better question. I want to ask this to you really directly. Is art a priority to you, or is art a convenience to you? And listen, I'm not hating on you either way. You don't have to be like this hardcore, like hustle and grind artist all the time if that's not you either. Here's where we need to draw a line, is that if it's a priority for you, you have to treat it as such, and you can't also have art be subservient to the whims and all the things that you can very easily talk yourself out of doing. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that it's more important than the people in your life, because just to be real, if you're just this big time, awesome, successful artist, and at the end of that journey, you have no one to share it with, you failed. But here's one thing that people get really misconstrued on. They're gonna think that they have to choose one or the other. And typically that's naturally gonna be art, because we wanna be with humans a lot more than we wanna be with like styluses and drawing tablets and canvas and paints and all this stuff, right? But here's a problem that I tend to notice. Do you ever blame people in your life for why you can't make artwork? Do you ever say, well, hey, I'd like to be a better artist, but I've got needs and I've got to talk to people? And here's a really good one too. Parents, have you ever said this, Jem? Well, I want to be a better artist, but I've got kids. I just want to let you know that in that phrasing and in that vein of thought, you are resenting the people in your life. Have you ever really thought about that? Because what you're doing is you're blaming other people for why you haven't done things. And what that is it's really lethal. Forget art altogether. That's lethal to you. It's lethal to your mindset. You're blaming other people for things that just you haven't done. Why don't you shift your mindset? Why don't you say, I'm going to be a better artist so that I can be a better husband, a better father, a better mother, a better aunt, a better friend? Because when you are focused on the things that are really meaningful to you, you're gonna bring a better you to everything that you do. When you are not making the excuse of, well, I can't do this because of these people in your life, then what you're doing is you're also motivating yourself to wanna do better for them, because you're gonna bring them up, because you're gonna bring more opportunities to the table, because you're gonna be able to provide a better life for your kids, because you're gonna be able to provide a better life for you and your spouse. Or for you that doesn't have any of that right now, friend, and you're watching this trying to figure out how to do it, think about this too. When you are not blaming other people, maybe you're a caretaker of somebody in your life too. I know a lot of you are like that too. Well, listen, stop blaming them for why you're not an artist. Take this as your opportunity to see as a priority for you, so that you will show up better for them and you'll be able to care for them and love them more, because you've also poured your love into another vial as well. Have you ever thought of it like that? Because once you shift this mindset, you enable this amazing future for you to come your way too, where you're gonna actually want to do both of them and not dread nor blame one or the other. How's that sound? Now, the most meaningful thing that you can ever do is make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you get more help, tips, and advice for balancing you and your art life. And hey, I've got some great resources for you too. If you don't have people in your life that support you, my Discord server will too. And if you need some one-on-one help and support for this too, go ahead and check out my mentorship down in the description as well, because that'll be a big game changer for you, like it has been for lots of other people. And then also make sure you check out this tip. Now, have you ever felt guilty about not making artwork? Have you ever been maybe sitting next to somebody in your life, or you're at a social function and the whole time you're saying like, oh man, I should be making art right now. Oh man, I really want to go. Or you're like sitting there with maybe your spouse and you're just like, like you're gonna say you're going to bed. This is your normal bedtime right now. What's up? Maybe it's your kids and you're like, kids are supposed to go to bed 30 minutes ago. When you're experiencing this, does that stress you out? Does this sound familiar to you, friend? Because I've experienced all this too. And the one thing that I learned that I have to do, and I think that a lot of artists would benefit from doing, is actually communicating their needs. Talk to your spouse, talk to your friends, talk to the people in your life, talk to your kids. Let them know what you need. And I want you to feel really empowered to be okay with telling people where you need certain boundaries. Like if you need an hour at a certain time of the week to make artwork, let them know. Here's another thing too, so that you don't unleash any wrath from them about the things that you were or were not supposed to do, and now they're invading your art time. Let them know this. Hey, look, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna be working on my artwork from this time to this time. Is there anything that you need from me? Do you need me to do anything? Do I need to take out the trash, put away the dishes, bathe the kids? Like, just think about that. I think that a major flaw that most artists operate under is that people just assume that because you make art, that people understand what the value of it is to you. But you wanna remember, people don't swim in your head, only you do, friend. So if you want people to understand what that journey is like for you, you have to be open, you have to be communicative. Because if you don't tell them, who is? Because it's probably gonna be you when you fly off the hill and you get pissed about it, or you start taking it out on yourself. Watch out for that. Now, on the road to balancing your life, I wanna ask you this. How do you demonstrate love for yourself and love for others? Well, most people would say that is through showering yourself with loads of positivity and just tidal waves of gratitude, or you maybe do the same thing for everybody else in your life and you shower them with time and you lavish them with attention, right? But that's really just a super surface level version of what it means to have a meaningful connection with somebody else, to have a bond. One of the main things that I would really recommend you do, friend, and this is gonna sound weird to you, but it's gonna definitely help you big time throughout your entire journey on this thing called life, is this. You have to be okay with setting firm boundaries with people, because when you say that you're going to do something, when you say that you need time, and then people don't respect that and you just cave to it all the time, like I get it, sometimes things come up, but listen, when you're doing it disproportionately in favor of other people versus yourself, you're actually disrespecting yourself. You're actually disrespecting your time. And you're, by the way, in everything that you do, you're teaching people how to treat you. So if you're allowing people to invade your art time, something that's meaningful, something that's purposeful to you, something that is going to serve your greater ambitions, and you're allowing them to get in the way, to disrespect, to not be respectful to you, then you're also conditioning them not to love you, and by extension, for you to not love yourself. Is that really what you want? So when you want to have meaningful social bonds with people, it's really important here. You gotta set some firm boundaries. Most people would say that this is cruel, or it's not going to serve you, or it's going to upset you. But actually, what you're doing is you're demonstrating the highest form of self-love. Because just to be real with you, if you don't love yourself and if you don't love your art, how are you supposed to give that away to somebody else? You can't give something away that you don't have. And again, what's that gonna do every single time? Now you're gonna start to build some resentment, and you're gonna build some negative momentum, and you're gonna cause some rifts in your current relationships. Is that really what you want, friend? Because art and social lives are difficult to balance, but this is one of the main staples that I would say causes rifts and for people to sacrifice one or the other. But stop looking at that as a sacrifice, friend. Start to look at it as an and, because who told you that you had to choose one? Probably not somebody that is a great artist with a great social life either. Am I right? Now, following all of my advice so far, I've done all of these things, and then I also started to naturally try to make plans. I tried to schedule everything that I would do, and I tried to schedule every single moment to which I would make art. And then do you know what happens? Everything goes to crap. Things are not aligning to what you want them to be, right? But now we have to sink into this, is that how do you handle that? Because you're probably gonna say something along the lines of like, well, Sean, I gotta be reasonable with myself. But I just wanna caution you on that. Stop saying that. Reasonable also entails that you can reason yourself out of something. If you can reason yourself into something, it's pretty easy to reason yourself out of it. I can say, I'm gonna eat healthy today. And then 20 minutes, I can reason myself into going down the street and getting an ice cream cone, can't I? I can say, well, I can reason that I wanna do a great job at work today. But then I can also reason myself out of it as soon as I have a bad interaction with my boss, right? So all of this just stems from the fact that we wanna be really careful about our verbiage when we're handling both people and our art professions, which is this. I wanna offer you this. You can either fall into the despair of when things don't go your way, or you can manage it. So rather than saying, is that reasonable, which then entails that you're able to just be subservient to, all the forces around you and things that are outside of your control, which are people too, by the way, then you can also say you can demonstrate mastery, which entails you managing yourself. Manage your time, manage your habits, manage when things don't go well. How about executing some flexibility? Maybe you had a bad day. How can you compensate for that for the next day or the next 2 days or the next 3 days? You had a bad week. Great. How can you compensate for that and be flexible within the next 2 weeks? I want you to look at this as sort of a trade-off. Okay, it didn't happen this time. It will happen this time. I couldn't do it then. I could do it here too. This is all about you balancing everything. And if you start to take a look at both of these being, again, big priorities in your life and treating the people in your life with love and respect, this is also going to be how you love and respect yourself. Have you ever done this, or what strategies work for you? Now, this also brings me into this topic of why don't you care about yourself more? Because when you are in the process of going through some life changes, when you're in the process of building a new relationship, oftentimes what we do is we sacrifice ourselves. And you can't be the martyr for the life that you want, nor can you be a martyr for someone else's version of the life that you think that you want. So one thing that I kind of learned from this, and I'll never forget it, is in my first year of my job. And when I was first getting into teaching art for the first year, one thing that I did is I did sacrifice myself. I was getting all these great career opportunities, and I was growing some friendships, and I was growing and meeting other people too. And then during that time too, I was pretty newly married at the time, so I'm growing that relationship. And amongst all of that, I didn't make any artwork at all for 2 years. And I gotta say, that really grew. And that is the destructive seed that you are going to feel from you sacrificing yourself. Like a seed, it's going to burst and it's going to grow into this enormous, awful weed that you're gonna feel inside your heart, because you know that you're not doing things and you're not achieving what you want to because you gave up yourself for somebody else. And I just wanna let you know, and just consider this too. If things don't go the way you want with that person, with those people, what do you have to show for it at the end? Let's say that your spouse leaves you. Let's say that your partner leaves you. Let's say that your friends don't want to be around you anymore. What do? How do you fix that? What do you have to show for it? You have nothing. So in caring for others and showing care for others, you have to also show care for yourself, right? Are you making this mistake? I certainly hope not, because I definitely learned this the hard way, so you don't have to. Next, I want to ask you this hard-hitting question. How do you feel when you let people down, and how do you feel when you have to disappoint people? Well, naturally, you're probably gonna feel pretty awful about it, right? You're gonna feel like you have not shown up as the version that you want to. You're gonna feel sad, you're gonna feel anxious, you're gonna feel depressed, you're gonna feel like, oh my God, they don't want me anymore, or they're not gonna love me, or I'm not gonna be invited to things anymore, right? Well, here's one hot take that I definitely wanna let you know, is that in order for you to grow into the person and show people how you want and deserve to be treated, you're gonna have to be okay with learning that it's okay to disappoint people. Y'all listen, you are not Chick-fil-A. You cannot satisfy everybody. You cannot always make everybody happy. You're not a burrito friend. So in that same vein of thought, then, it's necessary for you to understand that along your artistic growth and journey, you are going to disappoint people. And it's perfectly okay for you to tell somebody that you can't go out, you can't go to a party, you can't go to an event because you're working on yourself. Hot take, I know. Now I know how you might kind of reel back from that and be like, but I need human interactions. I agree, but How do you set that boundary and those limits for how that can work for you? How do you make people respect the fact that this is an important task for you? Because how are people ever going to understand that it's an important task when you never tell them about it and you don't set the clear distinction for this is important to me? So by all means, go out with friends, have great social interactions, have great relationships with people, have amazing relationships with your kids too. But at the same time, let them know when you can't do things because you've got something else to do. You promised yourself that you were gonna hit your 5-hour mark of making artwork throughout this entire week. I'm not saying a day, I said an entire week now, just to be clear. But you didn't do it. Now I need to do it. Hey, I said I was gonna make this page in my comic and I didn't do it. I need to sit down. Sorry guys, I can't go tonight. If you're valuing somebody else over yourself, then you're also sacrificing your future with both. Have you ever thought of it like that? On my hot take roll, I also want to let you know this, is that people don't actually like you. I know, isn't that great? It's wonderfully motivating, right? Yeah, you heard me right though. People don't like you. Instead, actually, what they like is the narrative and the construct that they have in their mind that they've assimilated from all of your experiences together. They've picked and chosen what parts of you do they like. So in fact, people don't like you. They like the version of you that's in their head of you. And then what happens when you defy that? What happens when you don't align to that? Then they're gonna drop this bomb on you. You've changed. Have you ever heard anybody say that to you? Man, you've changed. I mean, you're not the same. This isn't you. Here's one thing that I think that you need to learn to be able to say to somebody who says that back to you. Yeah, you're right. I hope so. I've had people say that to me in my life. I've had family members say that to me. Sean, you've changed. And I'm like, yeah, I know. You've known me for 30 years. I hope I've changed. Imagine if I just walked around my house pooping my pants all the time like a toddler. That would be terrible, right? It's a good thing that you change. It's natural that you change. And it's also, by the way, totally okay for you to let go of the people that don't support you. And I say this as somebody that has needed to do this. But because while you're going to be building social bonds, you're also going to need to be severing some of them. And I'm not saying this needs to be mean and cruel, but it's just a necessity of life. Because as you're going through evolutions, you're also going to be going through revolutions in your circles. Because if you've never heard this before, you are basically the aggregate of the people that you hang out with. All of their intentions, all their ambitions, all of their goals, all their personality types, all their habits too. That is you. It's okay. You can let people go. You can not talk to people. You don't have to be friendly with everybody. You don't have to please everybody on that note too. And this also, as I learned the hard way, it's okay to do this with family members too. There are going to be some people that come into your life and some people put into your life that are not going to be a good influence for you, that are actually going to be immensely harmful to you. And I'm not saying that you need to call up your friend and be like, hey, Andy, I know we've been together and we've been friends for 10 years, but bro, I can't hang out with you. And then hang up the phone. Like, you don't have to be dramatic like that, but maybe you just stop talking to them so much. Maybe you just don't go out of your way to go see them so much. Maybe when you're in a familial situation, like you're at some type of family gathering, just make it a point to not really go up to them that much. That you really just make communication as a necessity or as a response rather than you initiating that. Because just to be honest, there's some really nasty people in this world. And there's a lot of family members that are really harmful to your mental health that you don't need to be around. And this goes for your friend group too. Because rather than you complaining about, oh, this person's so toxic or like, oh, this person's terrible for you, rather than you falling into this victim mentality, I just want to offer you this, friend. You're the person that allows them to be there in your life. You're the person that allows them to influence you that much. You're the person that allows them to be around you so much. And if you're a kid, I get this. I'm sorry. It's really rough. I've been there too. And I get this from you because you're kind of trapped for the first like 18 years of your life and you can't get out of your house. I get that for you. But when you grow into your adulthood, you don't have to carry those relationships that you were born with or the ones that you get when you're a kid into your later adulthood. You should see this as an opportunity though, because have you ever thought about the fact that as you grow yourself, that you're also going to grow your circle? Because that's perfectly natural and it's actually a good thing for you. So just consider this. Who in your current social circle is going to support your efforts and going to love you for it and going to align to the vision that you have for yourself? Because if they don't, it's okay for you to start to cut the ties a little bit. Now, here's one thing I started to learn as soon as I started to have more social success and I started to have more meaningful bonds, and I started to accrue more and more. Like when I grew from having friends to having colleagues to having a wife to having kids. I have 2 kids. So managing all that can just seem so overwhelming. And then this is typically, again, when we'll start to sacrifice ourselves. So then this begs the question of, well, how do you balance all that? Y'all, the first thing I gotta let you know, and I really wanna challenge you with is, where's the fluff in your life? Like, where does there exist things that you're doing that actually don't matter, that don't align to it? Because at some point, if you really want to do things with your art, or if you just want to keep art as a meaningful portion of your life because it is a humanistic need and desire, as much as you might think that art is just fluff in and of itself, or you might be worried that it is, I just want to let you know this, that it's actually the bravest endeavor that you'll ever take on. It's the best journey that you'll ever go through because you're actually exploring how to be a better human, which will then impact the other humans around you. So have you ever thought of how you taking more time on your artwork is actually going to be a positive influence and effect on everybody around you? How are you going to show up better? Because if you're working on yourself, you're also working for everybody else, just like I've kind of talked about in this video. So while you're doing this, you're going to have to really take a good hard magnifying glass over what do you do in an entire week and just ask yourself this, like, what is not worth it? Where am I not using my time well? And I'm not saying that you need to treat your whole life like a job, but you do need to think about it like this. How is what you're doing right now going to contribute to the life that you do want or the life that you don't want in 10 years? Because tell me if this is you. Have you ever noticed how most people in their 20s just throw away their lives, and then by the time that they're in their 30s, they're freaking out over everything that they did and didn't do, how much they did or didn't take things seriously? And I've been there too with it, by the way. I'm not just speaking as some paragon of efficiency here, but I am trying to speak to you from a point of wisdom on here, because I'm older than some of you watching this, and I just want to impart that pearl of wisdom to you, is that if you really take a look at it, you're gonna find that there's definitely things you're doing that's wasting time and it's not worth it. Like for me, just to be honest, I haven't turned on my PlayStation in like 4 months. And some of you would be like, oh God, that's terrible. That's the worst thing ever. That's how I de-stress and all that. But to be honest, when you're engaged in meaningful activities, you're gonna stop filling yourself with meaningless activities. You're gonna stop trying to seek being filled with your time, and you're going to instead shift to being fulfilled. Have you ever thought of it like that? So an easy way that you can start to do that is track your time, track how long you're doing things, track what activities you're doing right now, and how long are you doing them for? You'll be amazed with A, how much time you actually have for art making, and B, how much time that you're gonna waste doing other things that don't matter. Because if you don't cut the fluff, your whole life is gonna be full of it. Do you want that? So do you want your life to be totally filled with great achievements and memories and love and affection and meaningful social relationships? Or do you just want to have your life filled with a whole bunch of nonsense where you basically have the life of what is the equivalent of a stuffed teddy bear? Now, let's say that you're sitting down every single day though, and you're trying to make art and you're just struggling and you're just feeling like you have no motivation, you have no direction, and everything you do just isn't resulting in any progress. Well, y'all, I made an entire video for you right here. It's gonna teach you everything you need to know about how to conquer that. Go check it out. See you next time.